class is called Being Fluid, and therefore it's a lot to do with water and our association with water and etc. So we're starting in supported bridge, if that's suitable for you. It is an inversion, that's why I'm saying that, and anybody like me that's got hay fever, for instance, or a cold, or high blood pressure, certainly don't do inversions. But none of you here, I know, have got that problem. But the pressure in your head in an inversion is what we say that for. So be aware if you're a bit heady, and you can just lie on your back and keep your knees up, feet on the floor, and maybe put your knees together and your feet out, as opposed to what we normally do is Phalakasana. You might want to put your knees together and your feet on your feet the width of the mat. So you're making a little church fire type thing. But if you're doing supported bridge, keep it as low as you want to. Use your brick or a bolster if you've got a bolster, but that might be a bit high for you. Just decide yourself. And use a cushion if you need to on top of your brick if it's a little bit hard. As opposed to what we did, you can choose fish if you'd rather here, which is where we finished last week with the brick at the middle of your back, round about your bra strap, sorry Gary. Or you can choose bridge with me, and that's where we're putting using your sacrum, your pelvic area to support yourself there, the big wide bit of your pelvis, the bony bit, so that you can feel supported on the brick. Taking this either on the low, I would suggest, but if you want to go a little bit higher on bridge, you can take it to the second one. Don't take it to the top one, because that's not great for your sacrum to sit in that position for that length of time. Your head is on the floor. You can use a cushion there if you want as well. Try and keep your head looking, eyes looking up towards the ceiling though. Just relax your shoulders, let them roll out if you can, and your palms face up the way. And just then find your breath. It's not a breath practice we're doing here in bridge, Setu Bhandasana. But find your breath and try and slow it down and get it rhythmic, get it fluid, let it flow, and then kind of just forget about it for a minute in this position. So an inversion, we're thinking about the fluids moving in a different direction in the fluids, in an inversion rather. I'm just going to sit up while you're all in bridge, but just in case anybody doesn't know what bridge is, we're doing this. I'll just go into it quickly. So either on your second or your lower, your knees are bent, your feet are flat on the floor. If you want to, you can go into what they call pontoon nowadays. I didn't know that was a name, but you can stretch your legs out there. You'll get a little bit more of an opening then on your hip flexors, and you'll kind of be coming into a real bridge position in it, and you'll feel the fluids going down the way towards your feet and up the way towards your head. So yeah, it's just letting your breath flow, but try and slow it down and become rhythmic. So do take a bit of a control here of your breath. Try to breathe through your nostrils in and out if you can. If you want to use your mouth because of colds or anything, please do. So thinking of our fluidity today in very different ways, but here we're thinking about the fluids in our body, and then moving up towards our head in an inversion, as I started to say. We humans are not made to be upside down all the time, obviously. We walk around, we sit, our heads are usually above our shoulders. When we do this, it's moving the fluids in a different direction, and it's taking your circulation back to your brain, which isn't a bad thing to do now and again. So inversions are good for you. But not for if they're held too long, and when we come out of it we must be careful because you'll get a bit of a head rush otherwise. If you ever feel pressure in these positions, please come out of them and raise your head above your heart, because that's the 2 points we think of in an inversion. So going back to us being fluid, just while you breathe here, have a thought of these facts. At birth, 3/4 of our body weight is water. So that makes me think, my daughter's 30 today, my last baby, so 3/4 of her, when she popped out, was water. Happy birthday, Lucy. Fatty tissue contains less water than lean tissue. So thinking of people who are obese, for instance, they've got less water in them, they're more liable to dehydrate. And as we grow, our body fat increases and our lean tissue decreases, and therefore we contain less water. So an average healthy male between 19 and 50-year-old will have a body water percentage of average of 60%. So gone down from 70, 75 as a baby to 60% in a man, 50% of a woman in that age range. So between 19 and 50, only 50% water by that stage. And as we age, we become even less fluid in effect, losing even more water. So over 50, a man has gone from 60% on average to 56, and it's decreasing. And a woman's going from 50% to 47% water. Now that becomes important because as we get old, we do tend to keep having to tell old people to drink more. They forget to drink quite often and they need to be told to rehydrate. And this is why, because they've got less fluid in them and they need to rehydrate more and keep that brain active and things moving. So everything in our body is made up of cells, and over 70% of each cell is made of water. So water's everywhere in our body, and that's why we need it so much. Plasma in our blood is 92% water. So that's what carries our red and white blood cells and platelets around for us. 83% of your lungs are water. There is a lot of percentages here. 79% of our muscles and kidneys are water. Brains and hearts are 73% water. This is all averages. 64% of your skin is water. So we don't want to let that dehydrate and we'll begin to look very wrinkly. Our bones are 31% water. Water is the main nutrient of every cell in every part of our body's function almost. And we need it for our brain function, as I've said, really important to keep that brain rehydrated or hydrated. It aids our digestion, obviously. It flushes out our waste, obviously. Keeps our blood flowing, protects our super sensitive eyes, nose and mouth, a lot of fluids in there. Protects our spinal cord, very important. Think of that when we're doing our yoga poses. Lubricates and cushions our joints. Talked about that last week, all the synovial fluid that's in our spine. It regulates our temperature and it keeps our skin looking good. And it helps our mouths to work, not to keep them moving, but more because of the saliva aspect and chewing. So just all those percentages relating to what's in our body and how much of it is fluid. And so now in this class, I want us to become connected to your fluidity. Not just the water in you, the fluids in you, but to think about our movements, obviously, as flowing. Because we are made of water, we should flow, we should be fluid in our movements. We shouldn't be, we shouldn't stagnate and be stale. Okay, so if you're ready to now, just gently lift your bottoms, come out of supported bridge. Keep your brick nearby, one of them handy. We're going to use it in a second. And here, think of the phrase, water's dynamic and flows. So we're still in bridge and we're just going to start moving fluidly. So in bridge, feet are nice and stable on the floor, knees are above them. Practice with your pelvic tilt just a couple of times. So just squeezing the abdominal muscles so that your pelvis and your pubic bone come up towards your belly button. Back stays on the floor here, so we're just tipping the tailbone up and down. So you're just feeling that movement in the very lower part of your spine, which is quite solid. So thinking of the fluidity, you've got to use all the other stuff around it to help that to move fluidly, because otherwise it'll get quite stuck. There's not a lot of movement in that area of your pelvis. Okay, and then from there, when you're ready, start to, using your breath, inhale and push into the feet and start to lift yourself up into bridge. So just do it gently, the first one. Start to think of it flowing though. If you feel any sticky points, be aware of them. Let's see if you can move through them. I know I've got a very flat patch in my lower back as I lower back down. So you're breathing in as you go up and you're exhaling as you come down. So using the breath to help us move fluidly here. Just rolling up and down through the spine and thinking of it. People used to say to me, it's like a set of pearls, a pearl necklace. So if you think of it, those on a string, and you're just lifting it up and down gently as they roll up and down. Just thinking of opening up and closing the spinal vertebrae here. We spoke about that all last week or the week before in the joints class. So we know that we need to make space there to move the spine. We know we're using that synovial fluid in the discs and the lubrication there to move the bones. Okay, so when you're ready, if you want to, you can start taking your arms into this as well. So lifting up on the breath. So as you begin the inhale, then you begin the move. As you begin the exhale, you begin the move back down. Trying to breathe through our nostrils. But as I say, use your mouth as your emergency exit if you need to. I've got too much fluid in my head with hay fever at the moment, and that's the problem. That's what happens when you've got colds as well, isn't it? All that sinus area gets full of gunk. You seem to make more fluid in that case. And then coming back down, resting your spine back on the floor. Pick up your brick now and pop it between your thighs and your knees. So if you put it long ways towards your pelvis and then squeeze it between your thighs, feet are still together in the same position. You might have to scoot down. I always end up further up the mat than I should be. So scoot your bottom back down towards your heels if you can. And then just take 10 little pulses. Squeezing your thighs together towards the brick and then just releasing slightly. So just starting to waken up the inside of your thighs, the inside of your legs here. Might find you're using your big toe. Once you've done 10, just hold it in that squeeze, really squeezing the brick from side to from either side of your legs, really squeezing in and feeling the inner thighs really squeezing. And then release slightly, take another little 10 little pulses again. And then when you're ready, hold. We're going to do everything 3 times today so that you know that that's a part of the fluidity, everything 3 times. So rest and hold. So can you rest and hold? There's the question. And then take your third set of pulses when you're ready, 10, and then hold. And here we're working our pelvic floor, really engaged with our hold as long as you can at the end of this one. So the pelvic floor, of course, is very engaged with our thought of fluidity and fluids in the lower half of the body, obviously. But the thought here is water is patient, but it also finds the path of least resistance. If anybody's ever had a leak in a ceiling or something, they'll know it can find a way through miles from where it's coming in. Think of least resistance here, just as you hold for the last couple of seconds in this. See if you can make it less strong. Find the easiest way. And then take the brick away, but then we're going to move the brick down. So if you need to have a little rock with your hips here in between any of this, just roll from side to side gently, release off a little bit. Then take your bricks, you might have to lift your feet to do this or sit up. Take your brick and place it between your feet on the floor, you're still in bridge position. So now it's a different point of view that's going to be squeezing that brick. So thinking of that, you can either do this lying down or you can come up into bridge with me and squeeze 10, hold, 10, hold, 10, hold, same thing. So it's little pulses, a little bit harder to do the pulses, but you can use your knees here and bring them together if you want to do the pulses. And then hold by just squeezing your feet together onto the brick. If you're in bridge, you'll have to squeeze your glutes as well. You have to lift your hip flexors a little bit higher. And try and make this a little bit stronger by lifting as high as you can onto your shoulders and bridge. Let your palms face upwards. If you want to take your hands above your head, you can. Do that 3 times, remember, so you can release a little bit and then do the little pulses. And hold when you're ready, so 3 times. And when you get to the hold part, which you're probably dreading each time, or maybe you're not, the thought here is it possible that where you don't want to flow is where you actually need to go? So things that we resist is possibly where we're needing to go and find what's causing the blockage there. Normally it's a mental problem. And yoga's all about, as we've talked about before, the kleshas, unblocking all those things that we put there ourselves to stop us doing things, to cause us angst. So once you've done your 3rd one, you can release back down to the floor if you're in bridge. You can get rid of the brick. Have a little stretch out, have a full body stretch, maybe have a rock from side to side through your hips. And when you're ready, we're going to come over and we're going to come into all fours. So take your time, no need to rush. Come up and catch us when you can. Okay, so once we're all in tabletop, did I just say bridge? I meant tabletop. Once we're all in tabletop, we're again going to think now about our fluidity. Just get my hair out the way. I'm thinking about our fluidity and the water's moving around in us. I don't want anybody feeling seasick this morning, but thinking about going with the flow. So start when you're ready to do our cat-cows here. We'll take 3 cat-cows and then 3 dynamic if you're happy to do them cat-cows. If not, just do 6 normal. So if you're already doing it, carry on. If you're coming with me, remember it's tailbone down and then up into cat. That would be in the exhale. When you inhale, its tailbone starts to move and the fluidity moves from the tailbone through to your crown, or your nose maybe, if it doesn't go as far as your crown. So thinking not about the strength here really in our hands and knees today, thinking more about that rolling movement that we can get through a spine. After you've done 3 normal, take into 3 dynamic cat-cows. So rolling down, a little bit more fluid here. You have to put a little bit more fluidity in, but at the same time you have to put a bit more strength in to push yourself back up and move around. So the 2 things, Sthira Sukha, remember, always go together. So sometimes to be really fluid and flexible, even in life, we've got to be quite strong. To be mobile, you have to have that stability. So all of these things relate to life as it is outside too. Okay, once you come to your 3rd dynamic, let's take some hip rolls. So just taking circles at the back end. So in yoga, that pot at the lower half of us is called kumbhaka. So the pot here, we talk about stabilising it when we're in balances and things, of thinking of not pouring the water out the pot. Here we're slushing the pot around and giving it a good old wash round all the edges. Go in both directions, remember, so and you can make it as big or as little as you want, but think of keeping it rolling, keeping it fluid here. And then coming back to a standstill, taking it now through your shoulders, that movement. So shoulder rolls, circles. A little bit more staccato for me. I can feel little corners in my circles. I'm not quite getting it smooth. So try and smooth it out. If you can't, if you're finding the same as me, maybe go a little bit smaller to start. It might be that you've gone too big and the movements are too jerky therefore. And remember to go in the other direction. So thinking of rolling through the wrists and the shoulders, moving all that fluid in the upper body. Your head's having to roll with this as well. Maybe you can let your head go with it, a little bit of your neck. Don't go too far in your neck. So come back to standstill when you're ready. And then sit back into child pose. We're going to do what they call now, they have new names, everything I look up's got a new name. They call this a hippie roll. So You might have to watch me, but it's pretty easy. You're just sitting back in child's pose. You're moving your body as if you were coming forward, but you're going out to the right first. So it's a roll round, come forward and back round. And then you lift your feet as you do that. So if you don't want to do that because your knees, don't lift your feet. So it's coming back into child's pose and then rolling. Hard to do actually until you get the rhythm. So to be fluid, you sometimes have to find that rhythm. It's not always easy to flow. And then take it in the other direction. If you've got any pain in your knees, please don't put your feet up with me. Keep your feet on the floor. Just do what's available. Keep it small. If there's any discomfort, keep it small so that you can flow better. Okay, then come to a standstill, still in tabletop. I'm whizzing through this morning. Okay, tabletop, we're going to take tiger. So tiger is when we take our foot out and up like this. But then we're going to bring it and roll it through and take a knee to our nose. So that's quite a strong one. If that's too strong for you, keep your knee on the floor and then just bring your knee forward as much as you're comfortable. But think of the cat back as you roll up and think of the cow back as you roll back down. Same thing on the breath, so up is the inhale, closing is the exhale. So just see if you can make this quite a fluid movement though, rather than sticking your foot up and then taking the knee through as a separate movement. We're not doing 3 of these, we'll just do as many as you're comfortable doing here. You can stretch the leg out behind you if that gives you a nice long stretch in your hip flexor, or you can take it up as if you're taking your foot towards your head at the back. And then have a rest. If anybody needs a rest, take child's pose in between. Otherwise, come to the other side so we know what we're doing now. But try and make it really flowy. So the slower you take it, using the breath, the more it will feel fluid. If you do this too quickly, it will become jerky. Notice which bits of you don't want to fold. My head didn't want to go down there, I just noticed that. The fluidity stops somewhere quite often in our bodies, and it's good to be aware of where we have these blockages. Come to a standstill. Let's everybody just widen our knees now and come back into wide leg child's pose for a moment. Take the head down to the floor if you can. If you can't, fold your arms, put your head on your hands. And just allow the back of the body to open. And allow your tummy to just settle. Let go of your tummy here. A lot of fluid in my tummy for certain, but also quite a lot less now as the fat increases here. So remember, that's quite an interesting fact I thought. I wasn't really aware of that fat increasing in your body means that you have less leanness and therefore less water in your body. The fat obviously doesn't hold the water the same. I'm not a physiologist here. I don't really understand a lot of it, so I won't go into it. If you want to look it up, then please tell us next week. Or Gary might know, but it's an interesting thing that as we get heavier, we're more liable to dehydrate. And yet it also means that as you move, you've got less mobility often, so you sweat more when you do have to move. I'm thinking of people that I know and see at the gym, etc. And they're losing even more fluid. So it's really important to rehydrate in that case. As I said, also old people, the number of old people I know that we have to tell to have a glass of water with their dinner, and they've almost forgotten to drink, some of them, it seems. Okay, so after you've rest, come back up to tabletop. We'll do another one in tabletop and then we'll move on. So here we're just thinking, we did it last week, we're thinking of looking round and using our cervical spine and our thoracic spine to look round to our feet. But at the same time, let your hips go the other way. So it's hips to one side, head to the other, and just try and make that a rolling movement, a fluid movement. Do it on the breath. Don't make yourself dizzy, and take your time. Watch your eyes here, because you have to use your eyes obviously to look backwards in an odd position. Eyes, as I said, a lot of water in there just to protect them, to give them sort of shock absorption, etc. If your eyes get dry and itchy, it's very uncomfortable, not terribly healthy. Okay, and then come back to standstill. Just sit back now onto your knees. I'm going to take a little breath practice here before we move up to do a bit of a flow. So we're just going to think about Ujjayi breath. We haven't done that one for a little while, which is our ocean breath. So again, that's the connection to water here. It's called ocean breath because of the sound of it. So we're breathing in and out through our nostrils if it's available, and we're using that glottal stop at the back of our throat to make the noise. So particularly on your exhale, it's closing off that space at the bottom, at the back of your throat, so that you sound like you're almost snoring. If you do on your hand, that's the feeling. So breathing in and out, just take a few breaths, close your eyes. See if you can lengthen the breath. So lengthen the inhale and the exhale. Make them nice and long. Try to roll one into the other. There is always a little pause, but try to forget that pause this week. We held the pause last week. Try and forget it this week. And think of the breath as a circle. So breathing in and continuing the circle into the out breath. And seeing how soft or loud you can make that noise in the back of your throat. The more noisy it is, the more pressure you're putting into your thoracic area. So you might feel it more in your chest as you move the fluids, basically. It's what's giving the pressure in there. So take it gently, take it middle, take it louder, see how it works. Listen to the noise in your ears as you make the exhale particularly. But then think of moving the noise and try to get a little bit of noise in your inhale. So breathing in through that little space at the back of your throat as well. And thinking of the ocean, the waves and the tide coming in and out. And then release the breath when you're ready. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. Just let your breath breathe for you. Let your circulation, etc., has got to then just return to working in the way that's best for you at the moment. Can make you feel a little bit lightheaded sometimes, breath practices. And we're going to come up when you're ready. So come up through a roll or a sweep up, whichever you feel is right for you. Or maybe just grow up to the top and come up to Tadasana when you're ready. Okay, so we're going to take a little flow here, and we'll do every little section of it 3 times, just so that you know it's on the count of 3. I might forget my counting, but you do it your count of 3. Involved in it is plank at one point, so you can use half plank there, and we'll be going through that into cobra. So just so you know, either half plank or plank at that point. And we're doing down dog at one point. If you want to do tabletop, we're then coming up to warrior 1. So if you're in tabletop and having to come up to warrior 1, you just put the foot forward and push up and adjust the back leg. If you're in down dog, obviously you've got to do split dog and bring your leg through and bring yourself up to warrior 1 and adjust the back foot. Okay, so those are the ones to take the options in. Okay, if you're ready, come to the front of the mat, hands at heart center. We're going to start on the breath, and we're going to breathe in and take the arms up above our head and just come into extension. So head stays still, hands come just above the crown, and then exhale them back down to heart center. So eyes aren't moving, nothing's really moving, apart from your arms, but so much of you is moving internally. All those fluids are still moving around, even though you're standing still in most of you here. Okay, after the third one, we're going to move on the breath, and we're going to come into a little back bend this time. So this time, take your eyes as you breathe in with your hands, reach up through your crown, find that spinal extension, the axial extension, hands above the head, little back bend, and then exhale your arms back down to heart center. Again, thinking of the fluid in your synovial joints in your spine. Lift up through your spine so that you've got room to move into that back bend. Because otherwise the processes, the little sticky out bits in your spine, at the back of your spinal vertebrae, will jar against each other. So you need to have room here to move into back bend. After that, we're going to take, we're moving down into Uttanasana. So take a roll down here, slowly on the breath, roll down. Thinking of moving into an inversion again, so beware that all the fluids are changing place here. Coming into your Uttanasana. Just while we're here, keep the knees as bent as you need to in Uttanasana. If you can't touch the floor, you need to bend your knees just a little bit more. Keep your tummy engaged though, lift it up a little bit, and then roll your head and your spine forward. If that feels too pressured, anybody with hay fever might be feeling it, just lift your head a little bit, engage the hyoid bone at the back of your throat there, and lift your head so that you're looking down at the mat, not behind you. Hands here are not in front of you in Uttanasana, forward fold. They should be beside your feet. So if to reach it, your hands are out here, you need to walk them back in towards your feet somewhere. Okay, so let's then just roll back up from this gently. So head is the last thing to come up. The fluids are moving upwards again, downwards, sorry. So everything's moving slowly, because if you move a glass of water too quickly, what happens? It spills and the water goes in the wrong direction. So we're trying to contain it. Take 3 roll downs now. So just gently rolling down into your Uttanasana. Each time your legs might open a little bit more for you. Your spine might drop down a little bit more for you. Breathing in and out fluidly, nice and slowly. Rolling open at the top across the shoulders, just to get some space there through the front of your body, rolling back down. When you've done your third one, come down into Uttanasana, and then we're going into half fold. So as you breathe in, you reach forward with your crown, you draw your tummy up, your bottom goes slightly backwards, your hands come either onto the floor if you're still comfortable with straight legs, but now we are straightening our legs, everybody. So if your hands then need to come up to your thighs even, do that. So you want to feel you're at a right angle here. Knees aren't locked completely, but your legs are straight and you have a 90-degree angle in front of your tummy to thighs. So your back is nice and long and straight. So you're like a tabletop. But use your hands then to just gently press on your legs, your feet, or the floor, just to lift out through your spine and straighten up a little bit more through the front of your body. And then lower gently back down, softening the knees into Uttanasana. Breathing in, we're coming back into that half forward fold. Exhaling, we're bending the knees and coming back down into Uttanasana. Breathing in, back up. Reaching out through crown and tailbone, lifting that tummy. Exhaling, back down. I've forgotten where I'm going now. Okay, and then we're stepping back with both feet, one at a time, obviously. You can jump back if you want to. And then we're coming into either plank or half plank, which is down on your knees, feet are untucked. If you're in plank, your toes are tucked, you're on the ball of your feet. Your heels are going back, your crown's going back, your tummy's lifted, but your bottom's tucked. And then we're lowering gently to the floor, elbows going straight back, tight to your side bodies, and come down to the floor. Untuck the toes, everybody. Roll up and come into cobra. Roll back down. Take a break at any point you need to. Back into half plank or plank. Exhale, back down, elbows go straight back, tight to the sides of you, hat goes forward, untuck toes, inhale back up to cobra. Only a baby cobra, we don't need to go too far, it's not up dog or anything. If you want to take that, then please do. Inhale one more time, up into plank. So remember, find the easiest path with least resistance. Back down on the exhale, untuck toes, inhale back up into cobra, exhale, back down. And then we're pushing up into down dog or tabletop. So do whichever. So the next movement is going into warrior one, remember. So up into tabletop or down dog. Hold there just for a couple of breaths here. 3 breaths maybe. Maybe you have to roll through your feet if you want to. Maybe you want to wiggle your bottom. Do whatever you feel you need to. And then when you're ready, either split dog or rock back, bring your right foot forward. And then you're coming up to warrior one. So pushing up, adjusting the back foot, and you're in warrior one. Take the hands above the head as you inhale, reach through that spine, find the axial extension. Bring the hands back down. Take 3 of those, inhale up. So think about fluidity here too, as well as strength. Exhale down, so rolling up. We're taking 3 axial extensions and then we're going to go into a back bend, so an extension. So on your next one should be your first one of your back bend. Lift up and roll your heart forward and look up towards the ceiling. You should still see your hands in your peripheral vision here. Back down. Inhale up. Ooh, make my tummy rumble, this one. All the fluids are moving, you see? This is what happens when you move around. You help yourself by moving those fluids that need to go elsewhere to do their jobs. As long as you do it sensibly. Okay, so this time, arms up above your head. And as you bring your arms down, take them out to shoulder height, straighten that front leg, and come up into pyramid legs. So your top half is just staying up. Exhale, take your leg forward into that warrior one leg, arms above the head. Inhale, take the arms out, straighten the front leg. Exhale, soften. So try and do this fluidly. Try not jerk at the end of each pose. Try and use the whole of the breath to get to the point of the pose, and then change the breath and move fluidly back to the other one. Arms come back down, take them down to your side, have a little shake through your shoulders if you need to. You're adjusting that back foot now and we're coming to warrior two. So you just need to adjust the back foot, slightly different angle, remember. Wherever it feels comfortable, it should be turned in slightly so that you're opening up the outside edge of that back foot. Your front knee should be rolled backwards so that it sits comfortably over your ankle. And then your body, you should draw in so that you're feeling that it's now on a plane coming down between your legs. So you've got a plumb line there. And draw the bottom under and the tummy in. Draw the heart forward. And then bring your arms out into warrior two, arms straight out to the sides. Look towards your front finger. So 3 movements here is as we breathe in, we straighten that front leg. We bring the arms up and we come up into 5-star. Don't adjust the back foot though. And then straight back in on an exhale into warrior two. Inhale up, open up, exhale down. One more. Inhale up, open up, exhale down. Take the hands down to the side. Adjust the feet to the front, have a little stretch out in 5-star there, both feet facing forwards. And then we're taking all those going the other way now. So roll your left foot, in my case, goes now as the front foot in warrior two, and we come down into warrior two on the opposite side. Adjust your feet accordingly to you, adjust your body, make sure you're not leaning like I was. So if that's the case, your stance might be a little bit wrong, so adjust that. Make sure that knee is outwards, you've got a long inner thigh there showing. And then bring the arms up into warrior two this side. Look towards the front fingers. On the breath again, as we breathe in, we come up. As we exhale, roll down through. Keeping that fluidity in mind here as you gently use the breath to start the movement. And then we're adjusting, take the arms down for a second, adjust the back foot and come into warrior one. So your left foot's forward now. So we're taking 3 axial extensions, inhaling up, exhaling down, inhaling up. Remember that back edge of the back foot needs to be engaged. Remember that you want to have your ribs facing forward, not to the side. Remember that front knee is nice and strongly over the ankle. Remember the tummy is a little bit engaged. Once you've done 3 axial extensions, go into your extensions on the breath. So rolling open and then rolling the heart forward into your back bend. Exhaling back down. Using the breath to roll with, flow with. Maybe as you do this, can you begin to feel that the fluids have rolled down from your fingertips? I can just feel they're a little bit lighter. There's not so much in there. It's all running down my arms, I think. And then we're going into our axial extension. And as we open out that front leg, we bring the arms down to shoulder height out to the sides. Inhale up, back into warrior one. Exhale, back into pyramid legs. Arms are reaching out through that space in the back of your body between the shoulder blades. Really reach through. If you're hypermobile, obviously don't reach through. You want to draw your shoulders in a little bit more if you're hypermobile, but hopefully those that are know that they're not supposed to be reaching too far through the joints. Okay, so from there, where did we go from there? Forgotten. Okay, so from there, we're going to come feet together at the front of the mat. Take a roll down. And then we're going to step back either into down dog or into tabletop, whichever is the one you choose. This is where we're doing plank and cobra. Okay, so when you're in down dog, have a little shake through. When you're in tabletop, have a little shake through. And then move yourself, feet go back a little bit further for plank. Hands come under your shoulders now, one at a time. And find yourself in plank or half plank. If you're in tabletop, just move into half plank. Remember to rotate those inner elbows forward to give you that little bit more stability in your front half here. Pressing through the palms of the hands, lifting up. Draw the tummy up, draw the bottom down if you're in plank. Take the heels backwards. Okay, so moving into cobra 3 times. Inhale, in plank or half plank. Exhale, take the elbows back, moving down. Heart comes a little bit further forward. Untap toes, everybody. Rolling up into cobra, using the back of your body. Think of that rolling movement, like a shutter. They're a bit not quite so. Breathing in takes that back up into plank. Can't keep talking and doing plank. Exhaling back down through plank and finding the floor first, and then inhaling into cobra. And then back up to plank. And movement here is stepping forward then. In plank, if you can just walk your feet forward. If you're in half plank, you'll have to go up to tabletop and walk forward. And find yourself in Uttanasana again, half fold, forward fold. Take 3 breaths going into half folds. And you inhale. Really use the exhale to release into the forward fold. Knees can still be bent in forward fold, but open the back of the legs in half fold. Three times, lifting out, opening on the inhale, closing down on the exhale, releasing. And then soften your knees. We're just going to sweep up now, slowly, slowly looking along the floor, back up to the top. Take the arms above the head, reach up, have a little sway from side to side there, just have a bit of a body stretch. Bring the hands together and bring them down through heart center. And release. Oh, we've run out of time. You're going to be really pleased because that means we're not doing boat pose, which we're going to try. So rolling back down, we'll just finish in our last pose here. Don't want to hold everybody up. So coming back down to the mat, take your own way down, roll down slowly. Sorry, we went up and down there. I thought we were going to do something else, but we've run out of time, as usual. Okay, so to finish, we're going into a big inversion again, if you want to choose to do so. If you don't, you might want to try that fish pose that we spoke about, that we did last week, where you put the brick under the head and the brick under your back and lie on the floor. If you want to come with me, take your strap, or you can use a wall here, or you can use a chair to do it sort of half legs, but come down onto your back. Or you can use a brick again, sorry, you can stick it under your bottom. This is into Viparita Karani, which is legs up the wall. So using the strap, you need to bring both your feet in, pop the strap round the balls of the feet, and just bring your legs up. The strap will just help you to support your legs there. If you can do this without the strap, then please do. Do it whichever way seems right for you. So there's that option. Or there's the option of just having your legs there. Sometimes if you pop a bolster or a brick under your back, under your pelvis rather, it just allows you to stay there a little bit easier without a strap. Or you can use a chair or a wall. The chair, you would just put your legs, your calves onto the seat of the chair. It won't be here that long, but just find your way into Viparita Karani or a version if it's available to you this morning. If you get a head rush or don't like it, come out of it and take another position. You can even do just Shavasana if you'd rather at this moment. So Viparita Karani, if you've taken it in whichever way you have, legs up the wall, is said to be very healthy in that it's giving your fluids back to your head. It's particularly said by Indian ladies that if you do it, 10 minutes every day, then you'll look 10 years younger. So it's worth trying. But possibly there's actually logic in that because you're sending fluids back into your face, which the rest of the day you're just walking around and they're all coming downwards rather than into it and staying there. So yes, there's often logic in these old sayings. So going back to our thoughts on being fluid and mainly more about our hydration here. 60% of a child's body is made up of water. So remember that they're born with 3/4 of it, but 60% of a child's body is made up of water. And if they just lose 1% or 2% of that, it means that they're dehydrated. So we have to be very careful, again, with kids who forget to drink or don't always have the availability to go and get their own drinks. We have to remember at both ends of our life to keep ourselves and keep our family around us, remind them to rehydrate themselves. Health guidelines say that adults should drink up to 2 to 2.5 litres of fluid a day. So that doesn't mean just water. You don't need to drink buckets of water. It can be your cups of tea, etc., that add to your fluids. It's about 6 to 8 glasses, they say. Personally, I need more. I drink quite a lot of fluids, but your body will tell you when you need to drink. Sometimes we think we're hungry, we're actually thirsty, etc. Alcohol, though, unfortunately, and caffeinated drinks are diuretics, so they'll make you pee more. So they don't count in your 2 to 2.5 litres, unfortunately. In fact, you'll need to take some water after you've drunk them. And you lose on average that 2 to 2.5 litres a day by just peeing, pooing, sweating, breathing. So what comes out needs to go back in again. So as you just lie here, one last thought to think before we move up. Water remains always or returns to itself. So if you think of water, ice, steam, water. And that thought you can take as a metaphor for us. We all remain ourselves. Things may change us, but the point is to try and find the way to return to your true state. So either stay here or move now, everybody. Have a little stretch, have a rock and roll, move your legs, take windscreen wipers, take a roll, take your legs into your chest, whatever you feel you need before you move back up. When you take your legs down, sometimes you have to just let them be for a second or two to let your body's fluids adjust. Still that surface, basically. Don't let the waves keep going backwards and forwards. Okay, and then come up to finish in Sukhasana if you're finishing with me. So last thought for today is go with the flow and try to find the path of least resistance, just like the water that we are mainly made of. Thank you everybody for the practice. Sorry we missed out boat, but we'll take it another day. Have a lovely week ahead and a great weekend, of course, Easter weekend. So everybody have a lovely, happy Easter. Hope the brownie brings you lots of chocolate. And don't forget to drink as well. Namaste.